I was asked to join as a co-author by my co-authors Carl Pierce and Judy Cornett for the first edition. Carl and Judy have both taught this course for over 20 years, and the book was originally born out of a certain sense of dissatisfaction that they both had with their casebooks that they'd used prior to this. Specifically, they had some concerns with how those books were organized. And so Carl and Judy came up with a different way of organizing this book. One thing that differentiates this book from others on the market is the organization to the book. The book, as I said, is organized around the concept of the life cycle of a lawyer. All of the relevant rules and the law governing lawyers that's introduced at a time that corresponds with the development of the lawyer in his or her professional life.
One of the good features of the book is that every chapter includes a hypothetical and numerous problems. The problems put the students in the role of lawyer, allowing them to learn the rules and the cases by applying them to the problems in the chapter. One of the great features of the teacher's manual is that in a number of the problems that we use that are based on real problems, we provide materials about the actual cases so that professors can add that material as they're discussing the problems with their students.
One of my personal goals for this casebook was to encourage students to think about professional responsibility, not just in terms of rules that they need to follow or even ethics to aspire to, but to think of themselves as regulators in the profession. Because law is a self-regulated profession, students are very quickly going to be taking a position where they help create the rules. I think the casebook does a really fantastic job of helping students think about professional responsibility from all different angles, both as students and as regulators soon themselves.
Students sometimes complain that professional responsibility books are negative because they include a lot of attorney misconduct. One way we've tried to address that in this book is that we've included positive profiles of attorneys. We call them profiles of attorney professionalism, and they include profiles of judges and lawyers and various practices that can be positive role models for students.
I think probably one of the biggest distinctions between the first edition and the second edition is that the second edition is considerably shorter. We have made the book more concise, and so I think that professors will now be able to cover all of the material in the book in the course of one semester. Another addition to the book is the inclusion of problems at the beginning of every chapter. We've taken a much more problem-based approach to this book. So the beginning of every chapter includes a problem that introduces the relevant concepts that are going to be discussed throughout the chapter. And then throughout the chapter, we keep returning to problems that arise from that original problem.
We provide a PowerPoint for every chapter. The PowerPoints follow each chapter. They include not a lot of text, but original photos, questions from the chapters, and sometimes clicker questions for people who like to use audience response systems to get students involved in answering questions in class. So it would be really easy to use the PowerPoints and adapt them to the way the professor likes to teach the class.
One of the things that we've done in the second edition is to look for cases that are fun to teach and that are modern. We have a number of cases from 2014 that raise cutting issues in professional responsibility.
As a professor, I appreciate a good teacher's manual, and I think we've done a lot of good things with this one. We had students work through the problems, and those sample answers are included. We also have included case briefs. We have a number of problems and hypotheticals that are based on actual cases, and we've included additional materials that a professor might choose to use to explain what happened in the real case as they work through the problems with their students.
Professional responsibility was one of my favorite classes in law school. It raises doctrinal issues, intellectual puzzles, and questions of human behavior and motivation that are really interesting to me personally.
The best part about being a law professor is just the interaction with the students. One of the things I like in particular about teaching this course is that you're getting to help shape the professional development of young aspiring lawyers, and I find that particularly rewarding. So the chance to help inspire, hopefully, and help to develop lawyers as they begin their careers is one of the most enjoyable parts about teaching for me.
I think one thing I really enjoy about being a professor and teaching this class in particular is I know that students will use this in practice. I often joke with students that they get one free phone call to me in practice, and this is the class that I often get the phone calls about. And I know that I make a difference for those students and those future lawyers.